So
You got water? Okay, good. You do.
I don't. I have coffee. Kind of isn't good, but I have some melted water over there from my ice cubes from my whiskey last night. So
Some melted water. The man said
did I say melted water? Did I really?
Yeah, the man said melted water. In other words, he's got some steam. He's got some steam over there.
Technically.
Melted.
So, hey,
how's it going?
it's, well, as you well know, it's going okay because we've only just been talking for the past couple hours.
Yeah, actually we have. Hey, everybody. My name is Jerry Williams, a.k.a. Greater Sapien. Welcome
I'm
to the Greater Apes podcast.
Yep, and I'm Jesse, a.k.a. Bino.
We're going to be talking about WandaVision. We're going to go right into it. We've actually been talking for, a couple hours on and off.
A couple hours.
You'll
see some of that stuff. It'll be posted.
We'll tack it on the other end. But we're going to get straight into WandaVision now. This is episode 7, Breaking the Fourth Wall.
Mm-hmm.
They called it. But we know what the episode's going to be referred to.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be referred to as
Agatha All Along.
Agatha All Along. Yeah.
I don't know if you've been online today, but Agatha All Along was trending. And of course, people have, made videos of people dancing to it like it's a banger.
Oh my God.
It was just like, so
oh my God.
All sorts of just TikTok videos are just like, this is my jam. Because it's a catchy tune.
It is very. All the tunes are very catchy.
Yeah. So
I don't remember one of them, but
they got rap video producers, sitting at the mixing board going, like they just got the best track ever.
I'm really happy for those musicians. I'm always happy for people that okay, they had some measure of success before. It's not like they're nobody's coming up from nothing, but I still get that feeling. I still feel the humanity behind things sometimes. Like, if one of your favorite actors directs something and it turns out really well, you're like, yeah, awesome, good for you. If they turn out another good movie, you're like, okay, yeah, good for you. But I feel really happy for these people.
Yeah, they've been.
I don't even know their names, but I feel happy.
I can't remember their names either, but they've been kind of nailing it every episode. It's been really good.
Yeah.
So Agatha All Along. Do we want to just go straight into that, or do you want to kind of
lead up to it?
Go back over it.
Yeah, let's lead up to it a little bit, only because Darcy and Vision have nothing to do with it.
Right.
They never even actually interacted,
Yeah, they were secondary. They were very much secondary characters. Even Jimmy was sidelined a bit. He just had a couple things.
Actually, even the big douchebag was sidelined.
Yeah, a little bit. So Hayworth is obviously, he's turning out more to be that guy.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's all he is.
Obviously he's a bad guy because what we were thinking before, and they kind of, what's interesting is that you come up with these theories and these ideas about things, and they're either wrong or right. But when they're right, the producers of the show just have the characters in the show say it, just like, yes, he was trying to make weapons out of Vision. It's like, well, okay, that's exactly what we were saying. Okay.
That's what he is. That's what is his whole duty.
And it really kind of shows how, Jimmy specifically is a surrogate for the viewer a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting out and state it.
I just realized, it's interesting. We've had these discussions about who's going to be the big bad, and we knew it wasn't going to be ultimately Wanda in terms of being the big bad. She's the big bad because she has this power and she's doing something that's wrong, but there's somebody behind it. Then we were wondering, okay, is he going to be the big bad? Is he going to be revealed as a Skrull? So that ties into that. Is he going to something, right? Where he'd be a big bad? it's good writing because there's so many of them. It's like you can have more than one good guy. Everybody knows that. We
Yeah.
have our cast. Well, you can have more than one bad guy too, and that's
And for different
that's a
reasons.
good script
Yeah.
for different reasons and different purposes. Because his purpose is to put a clock on this.
Right.
To put in immediate danger.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it comes to Wanda, and even now with Agatha, there isn't everybody's in jeopardy soon that he puts on it, where he's just gonna he doesn't care if he kills everyone in town, is my feeling.
Right.
Ultimately.
And they kind of said it, he's going to burn this place to the ground. He also, he grounds the threat. There's a human threat. There's a human threat, which is like your conventional weaponry kind of threat. And then there's the mystical threat. And the thing is, when it comes to stories like this, sometimes the mystical threat can be a little less threatening. Sometimes you're like, it's kind of
it's part of the storyline, right? It has to unfold. There's
a fantasy part of it. But when you then take it and you ground it also with a physical threat, like a mortal threat, then and doing it from both sides, it kind of makes it actually a little bit, amplifies them both. So I think that's a
And one thing I'd also really like, it actually has occurred to me in a few different episodes. I just haven't really talked about it because I wanted to see where it played out. I think it would be really funny if he becomes so irrelevant. I just have this feeling that he's going to be so irrelevant. Like he couldn't touch this if he wanted to. He thinks he can, right?
Right.
It's and that's a trope where a bad guy thinks that they're all in control until something gets unleashed, and then they are also laid victim. That's one way of that gets put forth. But then there's also this guy who thinks that he's the shit, and then gets shut down.
Right.
That's kind of where I think he's going. I'm curious. We don't talk about him much in terms of his path here, but I think that seems roughly what I think he's going to be.
Yeah. So I like the reveals that have been happening with that and how he's been used, because they've done a great job of kind of misdirection on this one. Some of it I don't think is intentional. I think some of it is. It's much like the Easter eggs. How much of this is like story-driven Easter eggs, and how much of it is just like fan, feeding the fans Easter eggs. Mm-hmm. And some of the
or coincidence.
Like some of the misdirection, I think, is not necessarily. It's just us imposing a misdirection on it. Like the whole idea, there's going to be a big bad. Where we all have this idea that there's going to be a big bad, so we start putting placeholders of who could be the big bad, right? And so it's not like they had to put some hints in there to make him look like the big bad. It's like, no, we started imposing ourselves. Maybe they did by putting the little hexagonal thing on the wall, and maybe having the carpet look like hexes or something, or that was just a design aesthetic. Who knows?
I think it's just a design aesthetic.
But then
now I guess we know
some
that.
of us, some more than others, especially if you go online, they're just people who are just still they have to speculate on everything, and everything has to be story driven as opposed to art just happening sometimes. So that misdirection, which it still could not be a misdirection. We could just be being misdirected by the fact that this is happening.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things that fans are jumping on, and I don't. It's happening in the back of my mind, but I don't have the wherewithal or knowledge to follow it through. But are the numbers that are being placed everywhere?
Oh, right.
Sometimes people just write random numbers because there has to be a number on that.
Right.
Sometimes that happens.
Right. Oh yeah, I saw one that was like the number on the big sword vehicle that just came in is
2 episodes
in the ISBN number of the Young Avengers.
Way. Get out.
Number 6. It's like, come on. Why
references to issues?
Why would you go ISBN number of a comic? You would say, for example, if Hulk was showing up or Wolverine showing up, you would have a 189 or something like that would show up because like, oh yeah, he showed up in Hulk 180. Now, there'd be things that are really direct. It would be like IH for Incredible Hulk and then numbers. It would just be something like that. It wouldn't.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be like the random address of a guy who worked, as a grip.
No.
On
No, and actually, but some of the stuff is actually reference to that. Some of it's stuff that any one of us would put in because it's like you wanna put something funny in for your aunt. I mean, really,
yeah, exactly. Right.
Some of that stuff is just that. It's someone's birthday that, or some inside joke that everybody knows. Sometimes it's just that.
Right. But it doesn't necessarily. But it's not always story-driven reasons. It's like, and that was the whole thing with this ISBN number. It's like it's the same as Young Avengers, and we all know that Young Avengers are going to be. It's like, stop it. Just you're winding yourself up, or you're just filling time for content by talking for the next 30 seconds about this thing.
Yeah. And one thing I didn't know was happening in the background because it never occurred to me. It never occurred to you. Maybe it did, and you just thought like, it's nothing. But people really went off on until this episode ruined it. Was that every one of the commercials corresponded with a stone?
Yeah, I saw that going on, and I wasn't buying it. So I wasn't on board with it. So I wasn't really thinking about it. In hindsight, I do think it's, okay. So let's get the fact that Agatha's running things. Okay. So they said it was Agatha all along. She's been messing with everything. So she's editing the show. I think that's her doing the cuts, doing the broadcast or whatever. And those commercials are probably things that, that Wanda has been seeing on a regular basis. And they kind of correspond with her mental state. And there's probably been a little bit of her kind of feeding into her.
I think that almost all of the commercials seem so far to reference trauma in her life.
Right. Some of it was early. Actually, like the first ones were old trauma. It's like Stark related trauma and then Strucker related trauma. That's like actually chronological. Stark and then Strucker and then sorry, I hit the mic. I can't remember what the next one was. I think you need a break or something. That was like where you want to get away.
I think it was the paper towels.
Oh yeah, Lagos. When you make a mess and you didn't mean to.
And that's her trauma from being in Lagos.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you want to get away, right? And then this one here, I think this is the next one. No, then it was the whole shark and the magic.
And Yo Magic. Mm-hmm.
Yo Magic, which I think was probably a little. I don't know if that was a little too revealing of intentions going on there. And then this one here, which is like, hey, go to the Nexus, take this, and create a reality, that it's maybe you are the center of everything.
And she is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's really funny. I didn't know this, but looking up once Nexus came up, looking up what that meant and what the significance of that was. So it's like, oh, okay. I didn't even know there was a thing called a Nexus being.
Right.
So things do revolve around her.
Right.
It's just an interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's a play on words. Let's be honest. There's nothing too revealing there, but.
Yeah. So. Yes, I mean, if the whole Agatha thing, I mean, especially after the last episode when we were all just like, okay, she has power. She was able to talk to Vision, so we knew something was up on there. So it's really, for me, is she the end big bad?
No.
Or I mean, I don't think so either. Or I think she kind of is. Like, for example, a storyline they never used was Thanos. With in the original comics, he was in love with death.
Mm-hmm.
And so all these things he did were about impressing Death enough, who was an entity in the Marvel Universe, in order to literally to marry Death. He wanted to, be with Death. And so that's all he was driven for. So my thought here is, there's a bigger bad, but maybe not an active bigger bad.
Okay. Yeah.
Like she's like, for example, Ralph, right? Her husband. maybe Ralph is her husband in the sense of like nuns are married to God.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
And so she's doing this for a bigger bad, but maybe that bigger bad just like, yeah, you get this for me, that'd be awesome,
Or
it'd be
not
great for me,
not even entering into the thought,
but not
because
necessarily active. It could be,
and
but
and
it's not
and
necessary.
standard God is a good way to put this, because that happens more often than others, where somebody is working for what they believe God wants.
Right.
And that's enough. We don't need God to go, hey, good job, keep going, kid.
Right. Though in the case of Agatha here, it could be more of that, where she's like,
Yeah.
hey, you want some, I want kids, I want to be on Earth, I want to be materialized.
And that's what I was going to say. Like, if we do go with Nightmare, this is a way to bring him to this plane.
Right.
Or near this plane. Or feed him.
Any of the demon type people. Yeah. So whether or not they're the active big bad, because I kind of don't want there to be another active big bad, because it kind of takes away from it was Agatha all along. It kind of takes away from it.
That's kind of how I feel.
So
it's kind of
her
how
having
I feel
a bigger bad goal is fine, but I like the idea of her having her own initiative in this. It's like, this is something she saw an opportunity. It's like, yeah, let's do this. Let's get her primed up to have a kid. Let's get her going, manipulate her to, it's like, hey, don't you want to seduce your husband? And don't you want to do it? And have her get rid of all the kids. So there's maybe Wanda had nothing to do with the fact that the kids are gone.
Actually, I think that's spot on, because that's for the children.
Yeah.
Like, maybe this is all what that's all about.
So maybe that's why, why Wanda was saying, like, what do you mean there's no kids? What do you mean? It's like, that wasn't part of her. She's clouded too. She's had her brain manipulated with the little purple mist or whatever. So Wanda had nothing to do with that. It was just.
Do you think that was the first time that Agnes has put the purple mist into her eyes?
Oh, no.
You think that's just been a common thing?
I saw online, this is awesome. Just before we started recording a couple hours ago, someone went through and took that scene where the camera person talks, the interviewer talks, and did a pitch shift on it. It's Agatha.
Oh, that's funny.
They just did a pitch shift on her voice. They just see, I'm just gonna pitch shift it back up, and it's like, yep, that's her.
The only reason that made me think that was the first time. And I agree with you, brother. But the only reason that made me think that was the first time was because this is the first time she's revealed herself. So she needed to put a hex on her. But I see. Yeah.
Right. So she's there behind the camera doing the thing and just hexing them so they don't know what's going on. They just think it's a regular camera person thing, whatever the situation is. But
so she's been there behind the camera.
Right.
And then when she needs to push something forward, she comes through the door.
She comes through. Yeah. Because they had. In that little cutscene when they showed her, during her Agatha All Along theme song, they showed her in the director's chair, and doing it, and she turns and she goes, "Shh, we're filming."
Yeah,
it's like, so she's like, "Yeah, I see you there."
So good.
We're filming right now, and so she was there.
So much of that, I have a suspicion. So much of it came from her. I mean, she's the actress that she was just mugging, and they're like, that one.
Yeah. Do other things. Have her do a bunch of stuff. Yeah. I'm by the way, total, quick change of subject. I'm going to get you some supercuts of her character, because Robin, I was telling her about your reaction. He's like, he's never seen Parks and Rec. I'm like, he didn't watch Parks and Rec. She showed up in like the 5th or 6th season of that show, and she's just freaking hilarious. There's some great supercuts of her character in there. We'll have a whole other thing just for you watching that. And Ben Schwartz is on that show, who I know you love from Middle Shits, whatever his name is.
Middle Ditch.
Middle Schwartz. No.
Middle Schwartz and Ditch.
Middle Ditch and Schwartz. Middle Ditch and Schwartz. Middle Shits and Dorts. Because he's on that show as well. So yeah. I think she's been hexing all along. She's been going through there doing her thing.
Not all along. I mean, yes, all along in terms of, but I think There was a point in which she jumped into what was
Oh
happening.
yeah. Like I think we might have even been seeing it, kind of play out in that very beginning of the musical number where they showed everything was in black and white and everything.
Mm-hmm.
She came in with her witchy outfit on, which was a full color, and she transformed into somebody that
Mm-hmm.
fit the era, gave a wink, and then walked in with the plant that very first time. So that was her,
And does
throwing
memory
that shit from
serve
the outside.
that she came in and introduced herself?
Yes, your neighbor from the right. Your right, not mine, whatever it was. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So she introduced, that was her first time coming in, at least on camera there. So, yeah, there's going to have to be some going back. And I know people will be going back and just looking over like all the different little things.
I thought I was going to. I just didn't have the time.
Right.
See our previous conversation, ladies and gentlemen, to understand
Which
the
will,
reasons.
in this case, will be the next
After-
conversation
after
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do think there's a bigger bad, but not necessarily an active bigger bad. That,
Yeah.
that's my thought on her.
Or like, okay, so like, if Doctor Strange does come in, which I suspect, and shuts her down, then he carries it over to whatever that is.
Yeah, the next one over. Yeah.
Even though I don't want him to come in and shut it down. I think he should
Right.
be there, but it's up to them. It's up to Wanda to shut this down. It's up to her.
Right.
It's part of her hero's journey, isn't it?
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah. She's got to, and then she's got to have some growth. And regrettably, in order to have that growth, she's going to have to deal with the loss.
She's going to have to deal with the loss. Yeah.
So you can't just have Vision back because she will never have dealt with the loss.
Yeah. I think Vision will exist. I just don't think he'll be.
Vision might exist, but much like in the comics, he's wiped slate clean or whatever, because, or whatever. Or he just makes an active decision. It's like, you know what? Given what was done,
Yeah.
we need to take some time.
They did pretty much establish that he's angry about it.
Yeah, I'm not that guy. I know that guy was it Darcy was saying, just so you know, I've been watching the show for a week and you guys are really in love. And he was just like,
Right.
Are we,
or was I just told that we were?
Yeah. So,
right.
So there's going to be loss there one way or the other. Either he's not going to come out of it or he's not going to come out the same because she's got to feel the loss. That's where we, okay. Just to be selfish in order to me to be satisfied with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like things that are just, too cut and dry. And I think for her to truly have a good arc, she's going to have to deal with that. They've said it enough. They've said it, we have to deal with loss and things like that. And I think it would be a disservice to not follow through on that.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
But, of all the other fan theories of things that are established, that's pretty established that Vision can be many different people.
Right. And,
legitimately.
There's always a journey of bringing people back. That's the other thing is we've watched enough, Buffy and Angel or whatever, all these things where people go through their thing and then they break up or whatever. And then they, part of the story and part of that romantic or relationship journey is watching them come back to whatever this new thing is. A better friendship, back into an actual relationship.
It's also established that Vision can also return to who he was. I mean,
right.
It's his choice.
Right. And then once he goes and maybe re-downloads the rest of himself from over in Wakanda, whatever. So
exactly.
I'm still wondering. There's still some outstanding things. Oh, and this plays into a comment we got. Let me pull it up real quick, just because I'll just read it because I kind of agree with it, and we talked about it before. Where are my comments? Someone says, this is Arcanix, who's 1971, who's our most regular viewer. Says tinfoil time. It's the postman. Did Did you see him stop when Rambo was there and when Rambo was there and visibly relax when, Agatha came and took matters in hand?
We know he's been showing up.
Yeah, exactly. He thinks Ralph is Mephisto or whatever. Not only is he controlling Wanda, but he's doing it by controlling Agatha. Now, I don't go that far, but I think he may be more active. I think he may be Ralph. I don't, he's just been the male person, Yeah, I think I mentioned some time ago where it's like, is he Ralph? But yeah, so I thought that was a suspicious exchange to have him there watching everything and then feeling relieved and then moving on. I thought that was interesting. So I'm kind of with.
So here's a weird thing that goes into this decision making for me, because I have considered him a few times. Mm-hmm. And this is a weird thing, but it just happens. We're so trained to having very, very good looking people in movies.
Right.
Or very, very movie looking people in movies.
Right.
If that can be understood. Yeah.
Right.
I don't see him in a movie.
Oh, no. He would be a glamour that he's revealed to be somebody else underneath.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Definitely. That's just,
I mean, because that may be one of the reasons they cast him as the mailman. He's pretty unassuming. And again, it could be completely nothing. We could it could be our brain just at putting closure on things. Well,
things
or another red herring on their part.
Yeah. Or an active.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Because he showed up in the scene where Sparky died, didn't he? He was nearby.
Well, he was nearby. He said, "I'm sure your mom will take care. We'll find him. Take care, ma'am." And went on.
Right.
As he said, "Yeah, I'm sure your mom won't let him get far." I think that's what he said. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, but I also think he was on camera at some point that he might be on the board as being identified. Somebody's going to go back and look and see if he's on the board as being identified as one of the actors. As one of the local citizens.
Right.
Because he's been on camera. So I don't know.
Well, and then there's also this, and it could be another red herring because it was offered early up and they've never fed it since or once. And that's the lineup of pictures. Mm-hmm. And that is, who is the FBI after?
Right. Who is the witness? And that could be.
And I think it's him, and it's just a standard dude, and he's happy as a lark that he's perfectly safe. Right. He's protected by this powerful magic. He's just going around being a mailman. He's always
he
wanted
could just
to be
be
a
some
mailman.
regular old mook. That was knew some mobster, and he's just got to keep.
Now he's just there, and he's just like chilling out. You see his home life, and he's just got everything he's ever wanted.
About the show is because it's it's not that predictable. I mean, there's so many things. Some people will say, "Oh yes, in hindsight is totally predictable," because everyone's throwing so many theories out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course they're like, "Well, of course we knew." It's like, no, we didn't know. Mm-hmm. The fact is, you threw so many things on the board. And you're just looking at the ones that hit.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yep. But hey, this episode, I'm like, well, my Loki theory's out.
Nah, yep. Just Loki totally out.
Gone.
I wasn't disappointed. I wasn't. Yeah. Nothing like that.
I'm still wondering, why was Pietro used? Why was that? Hey, lost you for a second there. I'm wondering why.
Because I had the sneeze and I hit the stop video.
That'd be hilarious if you actually sneezed, but you held it up. Why Evan Peters was used? Was that just like a thing, or is it
for funny?
We're dealing with the Nexus, and we're dealing with the fact that the universes do cross, and it is part of maybe people with these mystical abilities have the sense of the multiverse a little bit more, because we know that the Ancient One kind of discussed this type of stuff, and we know Doctor Strange understands, varying possibilities of universes and blah blah blah. So maybe there was just a thinning of the walls between the universes, and being allowed.
Because it's been thinned. We've seen it be
just
thinned.
a freaking Easter egg they used to distract everybody. It's just like both a red herring and an Easter egg. So but I
Yeah.
like that. I like the fact that, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen.
And it's fun to play
I'm
with.
okay.
And if you think of it, if you think of it that way, because you and I've brought this up before, and we see people like making these broad statements as statements. This is what's happening,
Mhm.
and you're not going to have fun.
Right.
It's fun to go, ooh, what if? Ooh, what if? Ooh, what if?
Right.
Well, which is why they have that show now, which I've not watched.
So what if?
Not watched because I think that's something that you and I are going to review.
What if?
It's already on.
I don't think it is. It's a cartoon series.
I think it's already on.
I didn't think it was coming out yet. I think they've just been doing previews. We'll double check.
Yeah. There's something that's one of those new properties that is currently up that I didn't know until we were searching.
Okay,
yesterday.
I'll double check myself as well. Other things that are still up in the air. Oh no, let's forget about what's up in the air. Monica Rambeau.
Awesome. So happy.
Yeah.
So happy.
Very.
I want her so much. You know what I mean? In a
I don't know what
story-based sense. In a story-based sense. I think that.
Hey, I mean, she is. She's nicely wide in the hips and stuff.
Yeah, she is iconic to me. She belongs. I was, not surprised, but unhappy that she wasn't already in the Avengers.
Right. Yeah.
But I get it because they had a lot of moving parts, and they're like, okay, well, we're going to introduce her, just not during these phases.
Yeah. Yeah. So giving her the arc that they've given her really quickly too. I mean, they established her. They established her character. They established her heroic nature, and gave her powers.
Yeah.
In about the length of time that you would have in a movie. I mean, if you look at how much screen time she had over the 7 episodes, it's probably about a movie arc. So we've had an origin story, heroic arc, and by the time this is over, we'll have had what's going on over there?
Can you hear it?
I just hear a little bit.
Are you comfortable now? Thank you.
Baron's getting comfortable over there.
Yeah, and he just finds the weirdest places to get. That is not comfortable. It's not comfortable. What he's doing is not comfortable.
That's hilarious. But we've gotten over the period of this, these episodes, a movie. We've gotten, her origin with the screen time of someone having their own movie. So it doesn't. Unlike when I was saying, I think when we were doing the watch party, how I think it would be kind of cheating for Reed Richards to just be kind of introduced, just like, just as a throwaway in episode 7 or episode 8 or something like that, and have his character just kind of pop up. They gave her, plenty of room to kind of grow as a character over these episodes that were like, you know what? You got powers and you deserve to have powers. Let's do this. Let's see you. I want to see you be this hero. Yeah.
And before we pass on, biggest red herring of them all is the person that who's the guy? Who's the guy? We even said guy. Who's the guy?
Oh yeah, who's the guy? Who's the guy? Well, because she said guy.
I know.
She said guy.
But we just stuck with it, and it's just like.
Right. And you know what? Online, just, there's still people who are saying, and it still hasn't been revealed who the engineer is.
And that may be the fact, but it was just still, but if you look back at me watching that scene, I'm excited. Every person that's walking by, I mean, I'm making fun of it, but
right.
And then all of a sudden nothing. And it's just funny to me.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, also it's like, it's my guy. It's not, she's not, it's just a throwaway thing.
Right.
And the fact that,
it's like saying,
for me,
my dude's going to hook us up.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I hope that is it. I hope there's not a bigger reveal of whoever the guy, the engineer, because
it's not necessary.
It's not necessary.
It couldn't move the story any direction.
And just the way it was laid out, she's like, okay, I got a person's here. And then she didn't come up and say, hey, where's my guy that's supposed to be meeting me here?
Right.
It was, thank you for having your dedication to my mother. It was like, you're the person. Thank you for responding to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I appreciate
Thank you for
what
being
you
loyal.
have done. Yeah, it was like a very direct. It wasn't
and that colonel, was it, or something, said, are these the specs you wanted?
Right. Yeah.
Done.
This
you don't
is
need
the
to talk
person
to
they've been
anybody else.
talking about. Yeah. This is the person she's been talking to.
Yeah.
So the idea that, oh, that person in the back that's kind of blurry looks like it could be Krasinski, it's like, stop. Just stop.
It's
I hope it's not.
I hope it's not. I hope it's done. Because that's a great. I'm enjoying this because I find a lot of this exquisite writing, and there have been so many levels of misdirection because it's part of the medium, and they could do it, so they did it, and that gave us something to chew on for quite a while. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, because if it was a simple story, if they didn't add all these things for us to follow, all the focus would have been on a few characters,
right? And I'll go back to it. And
one of you will run across it,
right? If that kind of thing makes the universe smaller, it's these details, it's this texture. She's got a history with this engineer and all the folks there that she's got a history with. So there's a backstory to thank you for your dedication to my mother. She's not the only one we're dedicated to. She's not the only one we are dedicated to. Not the only one I'm dedicated to. So there's more. That's why I'm thinking she's a Skrull. But
I see it too. I have no problem with that being a reveal.
Yeah,
I have no problem with that. Later,
it may not even be revealed here. It might show up in the Captain Marvel movie,
where that lady will come forth and then transform.
Right,
because that's more likely to be a person who's loyal to her than another human being that's part of Sword.
Right.
Because another human being that's part of Sword is a soldier on a very basic level. On their very base, they're a soldier and they follow a direction. Unless they're being shown over an extended period of time to not follow that.
Right.
And nobody knows. This has been a few days, right? So nobody knows what he's up to. I mean,
right.
On that level. So,
but until this series, Jimmy Woo was that guy. Jimmy Woo was that person who was just a desk jockey or whatever and was just following along. In our mind, he was just one of those people, like a soldier. And then he was given some time in this episode, in the series, for us to go, oh, okay, he's that. He's not just a go along to get along type of guy, punching the clock, fed. He's a hero in his own right. Okay, and he's one of ours, or one of, he's on this side of the good. Yeah, so I hope it is a Skrull. That's my only other thing. I still want to know what's going on with Pietro. Like I said, that's a thing. But
well, for instance, so I mean, to me, this was a slight clue. What's up with Pietro? Pietro still looks like Pietro when he found her coming in, unless it's like they just didn't do that reveal yet that he goes into his truer form. Like, why would he be in that form if it's not necessary anymore?
Yeah. So
you know what I mean? Wanda's downstairs.
Right.
She's trapped.
Is it
so? Why keep up the?
But is it Pietro from the other universe that's just got his mind being manipulated? That
he's just a dick.
He's just being hexed by her. He was, she was sitting there in the front yard, and he had purple haze going around him.
He had purple haze behind his back. You're right. Yeah.
So,
which to me, when I first saw that, I was like, oh, she created him out of nothing. According to the best of her knowledge. Oh, he sort of looks like this. I mean, it could be that.
It could be that. There's a lot of room for that there.
Like some sort of automaton sort of.
Right. Or you grab him from another universe because there's a believability because of however astral planes, souls, whatever mysticism works in the Marvel universe, that the fact that this is her brother, this is her kin, or her in this other universe, it'll be more believable when they're together because she'll sense something. So we're going to use him as the meat puppet.
But could we take her at a word when she's talking to the boys? That man is not your uncle.
Yeah. I think at that point, Wanda has decided. Yeah. Well, because once he said, can't kill your dead husband, can't die twice, or whatever. Yeah. She decided, nope, my brother would never say that to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
So weird. So on.
And then what happened to the kids? Where are the kids?
I'm very concerned about them because and this is the part that scares me most, right? Because it's easy to get invested in the well-being of children.
Right.
Right. But she killed a dog and she admitted it in this episode. She's bit a kid once. Right. I thought that was a great aside as just a funny thing, but now we kind of she probably did bite a kid in some sort of ritual or whatever.
Freaking Hansel and Gretel stuff.
Oh my God, that's actually really funny. Yeah, like a Hansel and Gretel sort of thing. Oh my God, wouldn't that be just so funny on some level? But I trust their writing. I trust their I trust their ability to gauge what can be done. We might not come out of this with the kids.
Right. We might not come out of this with
We're not supposed to come out of this with the kids.
Yeah, so.
I mean, that's the story. Right. We're not supposed to come out of this with those children.
Mm-hmm.
And they can throw that to the wind because obviously they throw a lot to the wind because Agatha's a bad guy.
Right. They said, hey, she's a bad guy.
And the thing is, not only is Agatha in the books a good guy, she's a good guy who protects children.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, that's her role. Even her protection of Wanda has a mother-daughter tinge to it. Oh God, that hurt.
Yeah, I know.
If you look back,
I could tell. I
did not like that.
You were not happy with that.
Mm-mm. But I trust their writing, which is stark to me now because the other day I watched Justice League to get it out of the way so that I so I can have
I've started over with Man of Steel. I'm going to go.
And I can't do it. And I can't do it. That I couldn't do.
Hey, for me, Man of Steel is, I hate to say it, is the best of all of them. They just get worse as they go.
They get worse as they go. And that one to me is unforgivable. That's how I feel about that. Right. But so I watched the Justice League because it's then just for comparison purposes, really.
Uh-huh.
Right. I could just totally forget whatever that was and then watch the Snyder Cut and enjoy that for what it is. But I wanted the comparison. Maybe we talk about it in the future. I'm going to do a little bit
closer to the Snyder Cut coming out. So yeah, but
well, isn't it out now?
No, March 13th, something like that.
March 13th. Okay.
No, this new trailer came out.
Yeah. So, so I'm saying it's in stark contrast to what DC has been doing. And that was one of the best writers there is who took over that project.
But
he had something he had to.
Yeah, that was only partly him. That was him and someone else. And yeah, obviously they were not a good mix.
No, because I couldn't believe how often there was an object or a person that I was just supposed to accept.
Right.
And have foreknowledge. That's acceptable if you introduce Superman without an origin story.
Right.
Because everybody's heard it over and over. That's acceptable. But to I can't even think of some of them, but it was just like so many, one after the other, of things you're supposed to know. The significance of that Amazon to the Queen,
Right.
that she didn't care about any of the others. She watched them get crushed by giant things. She trapped some inside to fight a dude. She just gave them up like they were just candy. But this one, she wept at her side. Why?
Right.
And it sticks in my craw. It's like, oh, what
We'll
a
have to revisit.
weird
I haven't
loose
looked at
end.
that one in a while. We'll have to revisit that. But comparing it to this here,
Yes. That's why it's stuck, because I trust their writing. And even though if I were ever part of that discussion, I would have said, oh no, dude, don't make Agatha bad. Can we just have Agatha as good? Let's figure out something else.
Mhm.
I'd be that guy in that meeting.
right?
But as I am with the creative process, and this is an extension of it, if the people who make the decision say, no, this is what we're going to do, well, then this is what we're going to do. And then my job is to then, this comes from a person who is not often a director, ladies and gentlemen. He's often lead of another department that has to do what they say, and has to be okay with it.
Yeah. So one thing in terms of just like trusting the writers, trusting the creators on this, I'm looking forward to what Jack, JAC. Her name is Jack something.
Mm-hmm.
The person who
Is writing this?
created it and is writing most of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She knew. I don't know of anything else that she's done, but she's a driving force behind this, and it's like, okay, you know what? I want to see something else out of you. Because this is,
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
good stuff. Yeah.
And speaking of conversations in that room, this was probably, hey, we hired you. We know you don't know anything about comic books. We're going to give you a few things to touch on, and then have at it. It's sometimes evident in good writing when you see it happen in its final form, that you recognize that the people who hired her or hired them are saying, you do what you think you need to do. Letting them do what bad writing, you can tell, is somebody with money interfering in a movie.
Yeah.
So what else?
Apparently she co-wrote, at least she started out, probably was the first writer on the Black Widow movie. Co-wrote some of Captain Marvel. And some other little tiny little films. Oh, she did a Olaf's Frozen Adventure short film.
For the love of Pete.
But
which ultimately tells me I need to watch that, because it's probably hilarious, because I trust her writing now.
Yeah.
I mean, well, you don't hit a bullseye.
But obviously she's in the Disney house, because Captain Marvel, Black Widow, this, and part of a Frozen franchise. So she's in the Disney house. Looking forward to her work. And right now there's no, it's like, look, I don't know what's happening. I can't predict what's going to happen, but I trust I'm going to enjoy it. I'm not trust that I'm going to be perfectly satisfied with the outcome, because it's probably going to hurt in one way or another. But I trust the storytelling on this one.
What I don't trust is maybe my reactions to the next two episodes. I don't know if we should watch.
Oh, on camera
together. I don't know if I'm ready for people to see that side. Because, things affect me.
Okay.
And I know it's interesting to see, but.
So how about, okay, well, what we can do is we can consider, we'll consider this, that maybe you and I, we watch it together, and then we start recording immediately after.
Okay, maybe we could do that.
Maybe do it that way.
Maybe do it that way.
Or we watch it.
But it's probably better for me if I watch it with you. I got to be perfectly honest, because then I won't go so overboard. Because like we said in the past, now future conversation, those things can throw me off. And maybe it's better if I don't totally let it go. So yes, I agree. Yes, we should, because I won't go off the rails too much.
So we'll record it. Actually, we'll just record the whole thing. We just may not use it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, dear Lord. Okay.
You know where I live. I'm not going to put something up and and just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm an ass, but I'm not that much of an ass.
So I'm looking here at a list of our characters. Not too much moving forward with the boys.
Right.
We know that Wiccan Billy is hearing things, and that was good. That was kind of interesting that in her house things are quiet. That was really interesting.
Well, it was
and that she specifically is
quiet.
It was
only the three of them, and she's like, "Yeah, inside you're quiet." So she's protected. She's got her.
Yes.
And that probably took her by surprise. Oh crap! He can notice that I'm shielded. That I've got my.
Right, which may have pushed forward the events,
the timetable a little bit
that happened at that point.
Oh yeah, totally. I would not be surprised if there was a flashback.
Oh, I think there would.
What happens right after that to see what happens with the boys?
Yeah, like it. Oh man, my writer brain just did something awful. Like, what if one of the boys was that fucking cicada?
I thought that too. I thought that too at the time. But
God, that's evil. Oh, I hate that. I hate that they might do that. Because now, I mean, seriously, now that she's killed the dog man, you don't come back from that in anybody's heart.
Right.
You don't get to have a comeback story. You don't.
No.
And if you do that, you're capable of anything.
Right. Another quick off topic. You've seen the trailer for the new Cruella movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love her. I think she's great. But one thing that people are talking about is like, they better not be trying to humanize her.
Right. But they are.
Because she wanted to skin dogs.
Yes.
You don't humanize that person.
You don't get the
making this connection. You don't humanize that person.
No, but they're going to try.
Well, so
I mean, they're going to make her. They're not going to redeem her, and that was the word I was looking for earlier.
Right.
They're not going to redeem her, but you're going to understand where she's coming from.
I hope they go for her just being crazy. I hope they really go in terms of her being very crazy. People were saying, I'm really looking forward to Disney's Harley Quinn movie.
Right. And we were saying, well, okay, they did this to the Joker. They handled this with the Joker. So it's their Harley Quinn movie. It's their Joker movie, and it's their, that already belongs to them. So Maleficent, which is theirs anyway. Yeah. But they're doing another Maleficent, really.
But with Maleficent, they humanized her.
They did.
Yeah. So I'm hoping with this one, they keep her on the evil side, crazy. But personally, my Disney plot point that they're going to go for, I don't even know if I'll ever see the movie. I'll probably see it when it gets on the Disney Channel, on Disney Plus. But is that whatever scheme and caper that she's trying, because she's going to be trying to, all sorts of stuff in this movie, she will be thwarted by those Dalmatians.
And that's why she hates them.
And that is why she is going to want to skin them.
Right.
Because
there were some in the preview.
In the preview. She'll be thwarted by the Dalmatians and then, end up in
or by the Darlings.
Looney bin at the end going,
no, they're not the Darlings.
Or whatever. Yeah. And vowing,
I'll get you dogs.
Getting her revenge on those dogs for
what were the dogs' owners' names?
I cannot remember.
I tried to call them the Darlings just now, but that's
Peter Pan. There was one was Darling. Yeah, and I think he was only called Darling and something else. Yeah, they were just called by those names, and even the dogs called them Darling and such and such. Yeah. So
yeah.
Anyway, so Anyway,
Yeah.
so in terms of redeeming somebody who wants to who killed a dog, right? It's like, no, you don't. You don't.
You don't get the
You don't
comeback
do
from that.
You don't come back from that.
No. No. And that's so, buckle in, folks,
Yeah.
because we may lose the boys. We may never see them on camera again, Jerry, except for I can't think of what the opposite of foreshadowing is.
Flashbacks.
Flashbacks. I mean, really.
You blanked on flashbacks. So we shall see.
I don't know though. Okay, like take that as a given. Let's just say that is a thing. Say that's exactly what's going to happen. Could we handle that? Would people swallow that? I don't know.
I think they would have a hard time. I think they're going to be around.
No, I think they're going to be around too because that's because they're two characters that people want out there. Mm-hmm. They're doing Ms. Marvel.
Right.
They can easily join that troop.
And that is a loss that she does not need to suffer.
Even though she did in the books.
Yeah. But in terms of her personal growth right now. Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't need to. Okay, because let's be honest.
That's piling on.
That would destroy her.
Yeah.
No more Wanda.
Yeah.
She would disappear in a red poof if she would just consume herself.
Let's go it this way. They're gone because they get shunted to another universe or something, and Multiverse of Madness is her trying to get them back.
Is she supposed to be that prominent a role?
I mean, they basically said they talked about it very strongly about her being in that film, and this is supposed to be leading into it. It's supposed to be connected to that and to Spider-Man. So
yeah, well, okay, yeah, because how about this for a story arc? Because I think that added with.
By the way, we're done actually talking about the plot of WandaVision and everything. We're just going to speculate for a little bit, all that. But go ahead.
So if the boys disappear, or if the boys are kept from her, let's just say that, however that happens, if the boys are kept from her, added to Vision saying, I don't know about this, you and I, but that they both are going to go save the boys. Right? Because then that would also have the Paul Bettany working with Cumberbatch theory that's out there. Right. If it's Cumberbatch.
People are speculating that it's Al Pacino.
Oh, I hope not. I got to be perfectly honest, because there's no beating Al Pacino out of Al Pacino.
But you don't get as a Mephisto devil character that comes that is behind things.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, but that would be an interesting story arc. You could see that though, right? That two people who are kind of on the rocks. They don't really know what they're doing anymore. One really is into it, and one's not into it. But they both have children together, and they got to work together to. I'm not saying buddy movie. I was sort of describing a buddy movie just now. And that's not what I mean at all. The buddy movie with the wacky sorcerer that's following him around.
I know exactly. He's a synthezoid. She's a chaotic witch. But they both have kids.
There's a picture. There's Doctor Strange at a desk yelling at them. For blowing up a whole town. Hey, gosh, billions of dollars in damage in that town. Out of my office. I don't want to hear from you guys.
Exactly. Your amulet on my desk right now.
Right now.
Yep.
Oh, dear Lord.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So obviously we're looking forward to the next episode. The universe is open as far as I'm concerned. Anything can happen on this.
Anything can happen.
So really looking forward to it. And
that's a statement to their writing as well. I trust their writing. I trust their writing so much I don't trust their writing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they could be fooling me. Yeah, I've been fooled before. Everyone has. All these people who are trying to act like they haven't been. No, you've all been fooled. Yes, we knew it was Agatha. Yes, there's a whole yes. I knew it was Agatha, but did you know it was going to be like this? Did you? So
Right? We all thought that she was there to help.
thought she was there to help. Yeah.
As soon as we saw that brooch,
in order to help,
we thought that she killed the dog. At that point, I really thought he was second that we'd find him barking in the backyard.
Kill the dog. And the little dog.
She killed Sparky. That bitch. Okay, that was mostly our talk about WandaVision, mostly. And if you want to stick around after this, it's going to be the discussion that we had prior that is now the future. See, we're time travelers too. And that's mostly having to do with mental health issues and some other funny stuff. So
just kind of how the week went.
Yep. So just continue or stop now and come back later. But thanks for watching, everybody.
Take care. Hey Bean, what's up?
Hey.
How's it going?
Yeah.
You're looking like you got rode hard and put away wet.
I did. I mean, I was. Yeah, it was a difficult day.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's weird, and this was actually something I was going to tell you yesterday in the watch. That. It's okay. So here's the weird thing that happens. And I want to talk about mental illness sometimes because I want people to kind of not know that they're alone in it, right, and to sort of maybe inform people who don't understand. So here's a weird thing that happens. So the other day, we were landing on Mars and I love that stuff. So I had it on, YouTube on my big screen. They were talking about not an app, but a website you could go to,
right,
where you got real-time data. And I was like, this is awesome. And I was just thought this was the best thing. And then, I'm talking to my roommate about it, and she likes stuff like that. She's into it. But me, I when I'm enthusiastic, man, I'm enthusiastic. So I was really enthusiastic about this, and there were a few times when I went woohoo. but sometimes, so I don't know. I connect it with. I like thinking that humans are awesome, right, and it's been really hard lately. So there's that added to the mix as well. So I'm just, this is one of those things you want to do. This is like going to a movie you've been waiting forever for, this is like a good feeling. I'm watching all the stuff. I'm thinking this is so cool. And then as things start happening, I start to feel more and more emotional about it, but these aren't bad emotions. I'm not thinking like, oh no, we're going to land on Mars. And then, in the real time, in the live stream thing with the real time data, I can feel. I know it's off by, but I was actually ahead of what YouTube was, mm-hmm, right, because of its whole return, right. So it's like, and
I couldn't help but think ahead of what it, because there's a delay, right? There's a delay.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, when this happens, that means it already happened, such and such, right? So when they say something's happening, and I'm like, it's already done. It's down. It's in my brain.
It's down.
It's down already. Oh my God, we're already there. So you're thinking ahead. You're thinking.
So I'm even thinking like, real time data. They said it's real time data now. I don't know what it's
real time in terms of there's still the delay
on the website delay.
I mean, delay from Mars to us.
Oh, that one. Yes.
Yeah.
That one you can't get past. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't have quantum, whatever. We don't have.
No.
No,
I wish,
that was
man. So this is like a really exciting deal for me, and then because of the well, okay, so on YouTube we pay attention to like different, we kind of know what it is they're talking about ahead of time because we've looked into it,
Right.
or we're kind of used to what is kind of necessary to land such a thing. Remember,
Right.
it was the airbags
Right.
one,
And
and now
there's
it's
certain things they'll say like blah 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 nominal signal strong. There's like things that you know to listen for
yeah.
that says this happened to this stage. Even if you don't know exactly what it is, you can tell by the acronym or the phrase that okay, that's a positive stage. I remember something happened on this one where they said we just lost blah blah blah,
I heard
and
that, and I was
and a
like,
person,
what?
but a person immediately said which is expected, which is expected. Like right,
Okay,
you could
right.
hear someone off to the side
Okay,
say that because
right. Because
they
yeah, that
wanted to make sure that we knew.
yeah.
Because the person goes such and such lost, and then someone over there went, which is expected, and they said, which is expected. Because they're like,
I love that one.
yeah.
So it's good. It's a good feeling, Jerry. What I'm trying to really put down here in the long way around that I go, it feels really good. And then with the the data that's coming through the phone, it's showing like in seconds
Right.
each different thing, and how this is, and I've been hearing them talk about how this is a new thing and we're going to try this. I mean, Jerry, the damn thing decided where it was going to land on its own. That
it looked at the terrain
so
and said,
awesome.
I can't remember what they called it though. They had a phrase.
Yeah,
for it.
they had a phrase for it. But they were using
like,
two current satellites there.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess so they could do a triangulation-ish thing, right?
Probably. Yeah. And
well, I mean, the more you have up there.
Because it looked at it and said, given my velocity, given where this is at, we're going to stop idling in and we're going to focus in, and that's where we're going. That's where we're going right now.
And there's even this part that's like one of my favorite things. And you can hear them talking about it. I could see it happening, and it was just like, this thing is going 10,000 miles an hour.
Right.
And you're like, holy shit, that's way too fast for how close it is.
Right.
And then like that, man, it slows down, and it's awesome to see it just go. So it's like 5 miles per hour. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What had to go into that is just.
And for me, there was the countdown of when it was going 90 meters a second.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 110 meters per second, and they were 7 kilometers up. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, okay.
Yep.
And
this
so,
is gonna
still talking because they're still talking.
That's right? Exactly the moment.
Because they're still talking. And so they're not doing the countdown. They're going, okay, 7,000 meters at 100 meters per second, and what we find is blah blah blah. I'm like, shut up,
dude. So pay attention.
When they do the next count, which will probably be in about 20 seconds, when they do the next marker, they're going to be 2-3 kilometers away. I'm like, right now, shit, they're at 5 now. They're not telling me, but I know they're at 5 now.
Right.
They're about 3, and then they pop in at 2.5 kilometers up. Yeah, I know. I'm counting. Shut up.
Yeah. So it was really exciting. I loved it. I love it.
Yeah, you texted me like 12 minutes beforehand, and I already had it up. I just wasn't looking at my text, and so then when I saw it, it was like 4 minutes beforehand. I'm like, yeah, I'm on it. Kevin was right here, and we were chatting, and I had my YouTube up.
Yeah, it just occurred to me, oh God, I wonder if Jerry forgot. Not like Jerry forgets things. It was my, like I wanted you part of, I like it when we can.
I had an announcement on my Oculus setup.
Did you?
Because, they were doing it live from Facebook there. I wasn't going to watch it there, but I used to have it on there. So when I got up and I was on the bike in the morning, it was like, be prepared for this at 11:15. I'm like, yeah, excellent. I'm glad I set that reminder up for myself.
Mm-hmm. You know what? If they have more Oculus C out there on the next one, and considering that they're using, I can't remember if they call them safety cams or danger cams. I think they're called danger cams. The simple cameras that are on
ones,
the thing.
yeah.
Even though it may not be real time, I would love to see that, man. On
The only
Oculus.
reason I didn't look at it through the Oculus is because they weren't doing 3-dimensional stuff. They just said we're doing it just to the 2D. I'm like, I can look that on my big screen then.
Yeah. So okay, so I'm feeling great, but I'm crying because this is the kind of stuff that really gets me crying. This is the kind of stuff that I'm like, oh God, okay, I put a lot behind it. Okay, we're not that bad. We can do cool things.
Right,
if we can do this, there's possibility.
There's hope for.
There's hope. There's hope. If this can happen, there's hope. So all that type of emotionality ends up behind it. So not only am I emotional because it's cool, I'm emotional because it's fun. I'm emotional because I'm proud of my species. I'm emotional because I feel hope for my species. That's it, and add any number of things on there. And so I don't know, is this called the comedian effect? You know? Because when it was over, dude, I crashed hard.
Also, yeah. What's it called? It's not the comedian, it's that clown effect though. It's the
which obviously.
Yeah.
It's something that I've had to deal with my whole life because I mean, you know, the thing that inspired you and I to sit down and start doing finally some YouTube stuff is because the routine that was happening after movies as we're standing by cars was hilarious. I'm super animated. I feel super free and loose, and it's all goofy, and I'm laughing and laughing and laughing, and you know, it was such a good time that you and I are like, oh, we need to film this. We need to film this. And then we kept saying. So that's the kind of experience that I have. And then I have to get in a car and drive away by myself. I have to go home by myself. And even though I wasn't by myself here, it's just like this huge amount of energy and emotionality. And even though it was good emotionality, that's really the point I'm trying to make here. Even though it was all good, I crashed hard, dude.
It's you know, and I'm just talking. I don't actually know these things, so I'm not going to act like I do. But when I think of that, I think of the fact that you are getting like this endorphin thing, this thing that's happening, and this chemistry is happening in your body, and then it leaves.
Yeah.
And then, you go the other way.
It's not even a wind down.
Yeah.
And that's what's so weird, right? But so, I mean, an analogy would be like that everybody, I think, can recognize in themselves. Everyone's had this experience is adrenaline.
Yeah, that's exactly, literally the exact words I was going to say.
Yeah. So you know how like when an adrenaline hit comes in, it can be thrilling. It can be, if you're not like actually in danger. Mm-hmm. And you recognize it's like a joke. It's like a punchline, Jerry. When a hit of adrenaline hits you because you're startled or you had to hit the brakes too fast, you thought you were in danger for a second, like literally thought you were life in danger for a second, and then you aren't. And the brake stopped, and the startle is just a startle and nothing more. There's this feeling, right?
Right.
But you can feel it in your legs, right. Your legs got sore.
Well, I was thinking the other end of the adrenaline bit, and it happens for people who end up, having to defend themselves, cops who have to shoot, soldiers. Yeah. You get in these situations where you actually have that rush of adrenaline because of emergency, because of something being life-threatening, and you do just fine. You do what you need to do. You get the action done. You get how all that chemistry hits your body, and then when it goes away, it's like you crash and you're crying, and people think this means I'm a coward. This means that I'm weak. This means I'm, that somehow I'm failing because of this. It's like, no,
That's just how that shit works.
That's just the chemistry of, unless you get used to it. But even when they are used to it, still happens. It's like, no, you have all that, and then it's not about like who you are or what you did and some type of judgment on why you're crying because you were so frightened. It's like, no, you have nothing to do. You did what you needed to do. You're a trained soldier. You're trained this. You've done what you needed to do. You survived, but that chemistry has left your body, and it's just like.
And technically, that's another chemical response.
Yes.
Crying.
Oh, it's totally another chemical.
You know what I mean? Like, why would you even try to bother? And that's what this. I'm not crying. That motion is trying to put more adrenaline in you so that you don't feel the other stuff. And what is the other stuff? I don't even know what it is that's happening in there that releases.
And you see, especially, it's very prevalent in like the stereotype male response, but I mess with my wife, all the time just because I can. I've known her long enough, but she hates crying. Mm-hmm. She gets that part where she's just like screw you, tears,
yeah.
It's that that guy, it's kind of a cliche kind of guy stereotype of crying and then just you're gonna get that chemistry back in to counter that. But it is literally, it's like, hey, there's a reaction happening in my body, and part of you knows in order to get that, to counter that reaction, I'm going to stick this other little catalyst in there to change it. Yeah. So it's like,
and sometimes, and just the way, just watching you mime that, I can see where sometimes that changing that would be beneficial. You're not completely out of danger yet, so you've got to keep
steady it, even it out. You got to even that. You got to even that out. Yeah. Oh, it's so. I mean, we have this instinct in us. We don't necessarily. It's something we've evolved with, that we kind of instinctually know some of our chemistry. We know certain things. Like we have these, like when we know things are getting hyped up, or we know where something's about to happen, we have these things that we do that calm ourselves, that steady ourselves out. This is just what we do. Or you just cycle. You just kind of get yourself.
Yep.
Even though it's like, you have to do something. So it's like, okay, I have to go out on stage, and you stand on their side, and you're like,
there's this.
Just cycling.
Okay. Here we go.
You know that chemistry's there. You don't know why. But we've evolved with it. And so we have these things that we do, but we don't really. We don't have true control over it. There are times when we have some conscious awareness of it, so we will work on it.
Yeah. Well, that's where I'm having a lot of the issues. And actually my whole life, because you just described going out on stage. I could go out on stage and talk to 1 million people. I really wouldn't have any problem with it. I really, really, really wouldn't have any problem with it. Unless I was supposed to memorize something.
Right.
Which is why I've never been an actor. Because I've probably talked myself out of believing that I can memorize things. But I do recognize that I've always been bad at it, even when I was as a child. So I couldn't have psyched myself out too much as a child, You know what I mean? But it's
poor little Beano, just like, loser.
Come on,
just do it.
Cat in the Hat. I mean, it rhymes.
But that's what freaking stage parents are. That's what they are. They're the people that get that out of the kid.
Right.
That wretched person.
So how is this going to come around again? So I'm starting to it's sort of like a therapy session here. Like starting to realize that, okay, what is my issue? Is my issue emotional acumen, or is it emotional control? Now, I can have emotional control. Obviously, you've seen me in dire situations, and sometimes I cannot, as you well know, but sometimes I can. Sometimes I can actually be the level-headed guy when people I care for, right? I have the capability. Jesse Vale, problem solver. I mean, but
that's all. That's
in service.
That's your strength working. Works with as external strength. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's toward other people. You know, you're one of those folks that's you're not good to yourself. You're really but hey, you are everyone else's protector. You have I don't mean this negatively, but you have a certain amount of white knight syndrome. So like you step up. It's like somebody needs something, you step up, but you're not there for you.
Right.
And it's and it's different. It's like you can compartmentalize probably differently. I know I do when it's for myself versus other people.
Yeah, but then sometimes there's what's the opposite of compartmentalizing? Compartmentalizing means okay, I can set this here for now. I can set this here for now. There's an opposite thing that happens to me. It's like I can't. Right. I have to talk about this. I have to deal with it.
Yeah.
I have to deal with this. I have to say what I'm feeling out loud. I mean, I know where this comes from. My mind.
It's like this tunnel vision happens and your whole field of view is taken up by whatever this thing is.
Yeah. And I know where that comes from. My mom, it's funny. I agree with what she did, right? But it's gotten me in trouble. No one. Yeah. It would be like examples. You'd see it in the movies or television show, and somebody would be yelling at somebody, and my mom would say, all my life, nobody is allowed to talk to you that way. Nobody's allowed to talk to you that way. Right? See how that underlines? Yeah, they're allowed to. They may face consequences, but then I just start getting all like, when people mess with me. And then, but not when I talk to myself that way.
Yeah, that's a language thing because no one is allowed to talk to you that way in terms of like you should not allow people, but they are allowed technically.
Yeah,
but
you should not allow.
But yes, that's one of those things where, but yeah, you can't. You can say that to yourself all the time. It's like you can't. That's the one person you can't avoid. You can't, hide from. You can't go to bed and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Right. Which I've never been able to do, by the way. I mean, that's an indicator of what I'm talking about. I've never been able to do that.
But with people outside of yourself?
With a partner.
Uh-huh.
We're like, okay, we need to go to bed. We'll talk about this. Nope. That's not how my brain works. That's not how I was trained. We're going to talk about this. I mean, talk about a communicative guy. I mean, sometimes I should shut the F up and I don't. I mean, not sometimes. Right. All the time. I mean, go back and watch any number of these videos and you'll see things that I shouldn't have said and I say them. And I don't mean like you shouldn't say them because they're dangerous to say out loud. They're just unnecessary.
Well, yeah, I'm not concerned about that. But I can think of many situations where, you've hit me up and said, hey, by the way, this thing is happening and I'm kind of upset about it. And I text you back. I'm like, all right, dude, hope things are cool. Hope you're doing all right. And then my brain, I go, please let it drop. Please let it drop. Please let it drop. And then an hour later, he's like, well, I followed up on it. And I'm like, why? Why did you follow up on it?
Oh, that was a recent thing. I know. Like, and those things haunt me all the time.
Why did you do that?
There's still one I want to follow through on. It's on me all the time. I think about it all the time. Because I'm communicative. I need them to know. That's what it is. I need them to. I don't. Sometimes I don't even care if they're going to respond to it. You just need to know. You made me mad.
Right. and there's and for me there's that line between you need them to know versus what they need to know, or it's like your needs versus their needs, and it's
so funny. This comes down to it's one of those we'll probably go off on this if once people get more comfortable with us in terms of our religiosity
or lack thereof
is that this is one of those things, though, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, that it's just like all religions are based on the golden rule, and I hardly see anybody doing it. But when I was younger and I was presented with that concept, I was like, yeah,
Makes sense.
totally get that. And so for the most part, unless I make mistakes, but always my intention is to treat others as I would like to be treated. And somehow that translates into me wanting to tell somebody how I feel means you're not doing it. You're not doing it. You're not taking my emotions into this like I'm taking yours into it, because I am thinking about them. I do sometimes, and that's actually one of my triggers off, where I can, or switches off, that if I say like, oh, this is going to hurt them too much emotionally, then I won't do it. It's an easy, okay, I don't do it.
Yeah. And the thing is for me, it's like none of us actually know what people need emotionally. We just know what we think they need emotionally.
Mm-hmm. But there are certain guidelines,
and so sometimes so for me, yeah. And like I said, it's everybody has their own interpretation of these things. So sometimes there'll be something with you and I'm like, please don't say anything. Don't say anything. It's not going to work. And you'll something happen. I'm like, oh, it worked out fine. It was a call that you made and it worked out fine.
By the way, I can sense.
But in my criteria, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? That is not something you should
do. Can sense those on you, by the way.
Oh, I'm sure you can.
I know when those are just behind your teeth. I know it. That actually sets me off. Yeah. And I know you're trying not to. I know you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know exactly.
This is exactly why it isn't passing your lips.
Yeah.
But I sense those and I go, what is it? And sometimes it can throw me off. And sometimes it'll center me, actually. Yeah. So, but anyway,
folks, this comes from like years of communicating.
Yeah.
This is kind of, these things happen when you have communicated with somebody and had these long conversations over decades now.
Yeah. And understand each other's circumstances as well.
So sometimes I know it's like, you know what? And like for me, when it comes to communication between the two of us, is I have to try to remember that, one, that my words have meaning and they have effect. So I have to be careful of what I say. Mm-hmm. And also understand that our two brains work differently. Mm-hmm. And so, sometimes he might be looking for an answer, but he's not looking for an answer that works for me.
Right.
And that's my answers are all answers that work for me, or at least I think work for me. And
there we go.
Right. Because not like I haven't had such a screw up in my life, but and this is just a guide to anybody who's talking to their friends who need, are looking for advice or just need to talk about something. It's like sometimes what you think is what works for you, is not what's going to work for them. And I know we've had these conversations. I'm like, dude, why don't you just blah blah blah? And you're like, and I could tell it's just like hitting you like, what? That makes no sense, Jerry. That doesn't
right. Or like, it's just literally I can't.
Or he just can't. And vice versa. He'll say, I'm just I just need to do this, and I'm like, how is that an idea?
Right.
And it worked, but he'll do it and it worked. I'm like, that should work. Okay.
Yeah.
And
that's what
so sometimes just we have to remember try our best to be outside of ourselves and when communicating. Sometimes the best thing for me with him is like not saying anything. And he understands when I'm not saying something, like, oh, Jerry's holding some shit back, not saying something. Mm-hmm. And then I hope there's times when it's like Jerry actually doesn't want to get in the way of this, and so he's not saying something.
Yeah. For sure. And sometimes you'll even clarify that. Sometimes you'll actually say, I'm not saying anything because my brain doesn't work like yours. I'm listening. That sort of thing. But tough. Then, and then, here's the fun. I can't even remember what threw me off yesterday. But something threw me off yesterday.
Well, and we'll, if we cross into sensitive territory or anything, there'll be an edit, folks. But we did the whole WandaVision thing, and then a couple hours later, you posted something on Facebook about
depression
forms you had to do or something like that.
Oh no, that was in the evening.
Yeah, whatever.
That was in the evening. That that pissed me off in the evening.
Yeah.
No, earlier in the day, it was just it was a wonder to me to consider how fast depression can hit you, because I felt fine, dude. We were watching WandaVision. I went out to my living room and watched a few, little extras from Nerdist and stuff like that, and had lunch. And then all of a sudden, man, just like boom, just boom. And I don't know if it's the same sort of thing as like what happened the day prior with the landing. It was, I can't find any reason, and that's what scares me. And then I go into a spiral. So that's really something that needs to be, there's a thing. It's a spiral that depressed people have. And that's when they find themselves depressed again, they get more depressed because here I am again. And it's almost like in your brain, it means that everything else that you've done is moot. It didn't work. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Like, no matter what I've tried, nothing has worked because here I am now. So
are you still feeling the effects of that today?
Yeah. That's why I overslept. I overslept today by like leagues.
Maybe you're going through a growth spurt like Malachi.
I could be. Maybe I should just eat more.
That boy just slept till noon yesterday.
Did he?
Because it was a school day. It was off for school, and
yeah. Oh yeah, and I mean, God, is there anything more delicious than sleep as a teenager? I mean, God, that was such good sleep. So yeah,
you're moving a bit slow this morning. So that's where we started this whole conversation.
That's what started this whole conversation. Yeah, and I don't know where to do. So last night, then I got thrown off because I know it's called EDD, and I can't think of what it means. Employment.
Oh, right.
Unemployment insurance for COVID has given me no end of troubles.
That's what you were talking. See, here's the thing. I didn't know.
Oh, didn't I say EDD?
No, you just said I have to do more weeks of weeks. I have to do another year of weeks, and I was like, are there typos involved in there?
Right.
What is he talking about?
I hardly ever let typos get through BTW.
And honestly, you seemed upset enough about it that I wanted you to continue having the conversation with the people you were having without like poking and going.
I don't think anybody even answered me on that one.
Someone popped in. I can't remember, but my concern was like, I don't want to come in and go, dude, what are you talking about? You're so cryptic. I didn't want to, because obviously you were upset about something. And then I could see later on that it's like you were saying that you were concerned.
I didn't put it in. Oh.
you were saying, yeah. I backed off. I wasn't worried once you said, my main concern is that someone else is not going to notice this and they're going to miss out on their benefits because of such and such. Right.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, okay, this is a logistics kind of thing. I was worried about it was like therapeutic benefits or something that was happening that you weren't able. I was like, and I.
Oh, so that was like purposely being vague because
I did not want to I was like, I'm not going to sit there and just like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? And have it be like a bomb of you not, it's like, why aren't you freaking listening to me? I just told you what's going on. Because you seem very sensitive about it. And then later on, I'm like, okay, obviously it's something like some phone tree crap he had to deal with. Okay, I'm not worried about it. But I was like, what? You didn't say ETD. So it was like,
yeah, that's so funny.
I just learned that I have to do another ye's worth of weeks. Year's worth of weeks?
Yeah.
What's a year's worth of weeks mean?
So the short story of this, ladies and gentlemen, is that I'm an independent contractor and I've had very, 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 very difficult interactions with California's unemployment system and arguing with them because I'm a white guy and I think I have that right. So I do. I write letters. I mean,
he is a letter writer.
I write letters and I'm like, God, I put all this stuff. You should see the packets I put together. I mean, these were court quality. Like
I
you
am a
need
middle-aged white male, and I have rights.
And I have
you
rights.
should be.
Yeah.
Don't you understand my lineage? No, he's not that bad. No,
It's really and technically the reason I say that because I'm a white guy is because I recognize my privilege and I also understand my weight. So I need to do this because someone else may not feel they can, and someone may not be able to. So that's usually what drives me on that. The unfairness, right? And that's such a white feeling.
Right.
It really is.
But at the same time, it's not.
But I am trying to do the right thing.
What I've noticed for you is like you haven't been driven by what you feel you should be getting.
No.
So much as, because sometimes you're like, I know this. I already know that I'm not qualified. I already know they've already said, no, I'm not. But you know what? The way they're going about this is wrong and it's going to screw up for other people. So you keep arguing, even though you're like, I know I'm not getting crap out of this. That's already done. Now I'm just dealing with the fact that.
You just referred to my parking ticket situation.
Oh, I did? Because we've had this conversation about things.
Yes, we have. But recently I said, so I had to pay that parking ticket because Oakland feeds on its people through parking tickets. That's how they feed on us. And it's like a logic puzzle to understand where it is you're supposed to park at any given moment. I'm a smart guy. And I've screwed up on that so many times.
I'm just picturing parking signs that are done by the Riddler.
Well, you know what? It's so funny. I can't remember who it was recently who actually posted something like that. Or was I looking at, I can't remember who it was, but they actually did have a parking sign that sounded like like an Irish riddle from a leprechaun.
Right, or something.
Right.
Someone
actually did do that gag. But so COVID, they're like, okay, we're not gonna. We know you're not moving your cars, so we're not going to issue tickets for street parking. So great, okay. So we're still in the purple, and all of a sudden, there's a ticket on my car, and I'm like, wait, what? You have ways to communicate with us. Put a little, hey, we're going to start. I could have ticketed you right now. Like, take them out into the system, put something on there and say, this is not a ticket, but you need
citywide alerts.
They have citywide alerts. It would cost them nothing. And so they gave me a ticket, and I went through the system and I argued it. I said, you didn't give us any time. And the letter they gave it was so dry. It was essentially saying, no, we did. This is fine.
We good.
Yeah, we did this. There's no further action required. I love it when they say that about the things that they have to do. Anyways, so that's not my point. My point
also,
is
it's
that
about the
EDD,
things that you have to do, which is like, don't call us again about this. Don't. Yeah, we're done. Yeah, you're dismissed. Next.
Yeah, but just so that people, in case they're wondering, oh, what was that EDD thing about? So the unemployment insurance is that I had to fight them. And so I understand what happened, but it was just ridiculous. What happened was they finally relented. That's actually what happened. They finally said, all right. You're right. You deserve back pay on this because we kept denying you. And when we approved you, I said, here's the reference number. Here's the confirmation number to when I actually filed. You need to do this from then. And they finally relented. So then they just dumped on me. It turns out it was only a half a year, but it was a half a year of me clicking the same thing over and over and over. And every single time I did it, there was like, how was your experience? Right? I would put very poor. This is now the 5th one I've done. Submit.
Did you just
this is now. So it's funny because I had this thought that I was going to, because I was so angry, and I knew that I had a certain number of fields to fill in the complaints.
Right.
They only allow you.
I was going to ask if you had like a little copy and paste field, because you were saying you're like writing it in number 6, none of it in number 7. It's like,
and it was only
copy and pasting.
It was every 5, and I did copy and paste, and then I added things. And this is what got me started: is that every 5 things, I very poured them on all of them, and then every 5 weeks,
verb, I very poured them.
every five weeks, I'd add. This has now been that I've had to do this. I did, and then I would copy and paste a base, and then I would start to change it. And the reason I started to change it is because I wanted them to read it. Because if they can see,
if they can
this
see
is exactly the same, they won't read it. So that inspired me. That I actually stopped for a second. I actually considered going back. I swear to God, because you can back button these. Now I know they're already submitted, but I was wondering, okay, can you go back?
Right. It might just be the notice has been submitted, but when they actually look at it, it's been refreshed to whatever the latest thing is.
And then I'm adding new information to it, as it were, in the complaints box, which again only allows 250. So that was my inspiration for the following thought. I actually stopped, took some notes, and thought, okay, what sort of engaging story can I write in the amount of space that I have and then not finish the story? I had all these fantasies about how they'd be like, whoa, and that they would want to reach out to me. And it would be, I wrote the whole damn script, and that they would be like, oh, Mr. Vale, yes, so and so forth. Oh, yeah, we saw your complaints. We're very, very sorry about these situations. It's just how the system works but we're trying to fix it now. Thank you so much for your input. Is there anything else I can do for you? Oh, no, that sounds great. Thank you so much for reaching out to me again. Oh, and sir, yeah. What happens to the little boy? Because that was the story I was going. I was like, okay, what's a story that I have? And it's a Shaggy dog tale. And I told you the punchline when I referred to it because I thought you knew it.
I think I do.
It's called The Ugliest Little Boy. Is really what the story is called. The ugliest boy in the world. Yeah. And the end, it's like I could weave this. I've actually told it for a half hour before. And if I had not done this, I'd have lost my benefits, Jerry.
Right.
And they actually changed something. So how many years you've had unemployment before, right?
Yeah. It's been like a decade or so.
But... Yeah. 2 weeks. Certified for 2 weeks. Right?
Something like that.
It's always been 2 weeks because that's a paycheck. So they send you a thing and you have to certify every 2 weeks. Did you look for work? Did you blah, 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 blah.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yep. Uh-huh.
Right. Now it's online. So just a couple months ago, not even a couple months ago, maybe a month ago, I clicked certify for benefits and I clicked, and then my brain goes, that was just 1 week, dude. Where's the other week?
Right.
You had to start the system over again for the second week. All of a sudden, it's like it's set up to make you fail.
It's the biggest freaking hurdle is it just, so it's like, and because you think you're done. And if you don't notice that you're not, you're just.
Then they go, oh, you didn't certify. We don't give you anything. Yeah. That's, I hate to think that people think that far ahead, but I think some do.
Right.
I think some go, if we put this in.
The cost benefit analysis on that, it's like, we're going to get, yeah.
God, can you imagine someone being so evil? At any rate, so that's my story on all that. And so if you're feeling super emotional, ladies and gentlemen, I feel yous. I hope you feel me too. I hope this wasn't.
And that's all he has to say about that.
And that's all I have to say about that.
You can check out the entire podcast on Spotify or any other podcast delivery service you might have. All availability will be shown in the description.
And make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to be bugged by us for the rest of time, click that little bell.
Thanks, everybody.